Welcome back to the Truck Show podcast, where we bring you interesting interviews along with the latest in trucks a couple of times a week. I'm your host, Holman, and I wanted to make a quick shout out to my friend Jeremy Headley, who's recovering from what should have been a routine procedure on his back, but he ended up partially paralyzed. Obviously, with what I recently went through with my daughter and myself, this one hits close to home. He's doing better. He's working through it, but there was a GoFundMe started to help him and his family out through this time. If you'd like to donate to it, you can find the link on our Facebook page or on the Podshed Insider group. He's one of the good guys in the industry, and we wish him the best. Little update on the 392 redo. It's coming along, and I wanted to say thank you again to Jackson Ellis and Ellis Family Stores, which includes Glendale, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram in Glendale, California. And I want to thank our friends over at American Expedition Vehicles, which the Jeep is currently at. It landed there last Friday. And man, I've been on the phone, on emails. I've had so much support from the industry reaching out saying, hey, let's get you back in your Jeep. Let's get this thing going. Many of them you'll hear on the podcast in coming months. Real quick, I want to thank Baja Designs, Warren, Factor 55, Z Automotive, Bilstein, BF Goodrich Tires, Midland USA, Mopar, Evo Manufacturing, American Adventure Lab, Apex Designs, Expel, of course, our friends over at AMSOIL, and OVR Mag. You'll see more of the Jeep in the magazine. And again, you'll hear some folks coming on the podcast talking about their latest and greatest products for your Jeep or truck. On this episode, we check in with our friends Mercedes and Andy Lilienthal from Crankshaft Culture as they give us their download on the most recent adventure, traversing the entire Trans-America Trail from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean in a Subaru. It's a pretty awesome story of perseverance, adventure, and experience in a non-traditional adventure machine, at least us truck folks. It's a great story, and it was a fun interview to do. Also, I've been researching what I believe to be the sweet spot of the truck market, and I think that's the $45,000 midsize pickup. I've been digging into Jeep and Ford, Chevy, GMC, Toyota, Nissan, and I want to bring you up to date with how the models from different companies stack up. So I'm working on that, and I'll talk a little bit more about it later on in this episode. Of course, before we get started, we have to thank our amazing partners. The Truck Show podcast is brought to you by the following sponsors. AMSOIL launched the industry's first synthetic motor oil back in 1972, and AMSOIL continues to innovate with a wide selection of synthetics that are formulated, blended, and packaged right here in the United States. These specialized lubricants are engineered for what you drive and how you drive. AMSOIL's Shop by Vehicle tool offers package size recommendations to maximize savings and includes AMSOIL's Ultimate Oil Change Kits. AMSOIL offers the protection you demand and the performance you deserve. Get yours today at AMSOIL.com. The perfect complement to your truck is a Kershaw knife. All Kershaw knives come with a limited lifetime warranty, and repair parts are readily available through the website. Kershaw knives include lifetime sharpening, and the lineup has everything from EDC knives that can be used and abused for under $50, all the way up to high-end collectibles. Thanks to our generous partnership with Kershaw Knives, Truck Show podcast listeners can get 40% off MSRP and free shipping over $50 by using the code 2TSP2025. It can be used more than once and even includes automatics. Visit kershaw.kaiusa.com today. When it comes to amazing vehicle-based adventure content, how-tos, and great storytelling, only one brand is doing it right in the print magazine space, and that's OVR, Outdoor Vehicle Recreation. OVR is about getting out there in our vehicles to explore and discover the world around us. Get complimentary access for a year to the digital library or a discount on your print subscription today at OVRmag.com. Use the promotional code at Truck Show Podcast. As always, the Truck Show podcast survives off of sponsorships and your reviews. Please help me to keep it free by supporting our sponsors and leaving reviews and comments on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
The Truck Show. We're gonna show you what we know. We're gonna answer what the truck, 'cause truck rhymes with the Truck Show. We have the lifted, we have the lowered, and everything in between. We'll talk about trucks that run on diesel, electricity, and on gasoline. The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show. Oh.
It's the Truck Show with your host, Holman.
That's right. Coming to you live from Huntington Beach, California in the Truck Show podcast Podshed. So to start the show off, I think we've got a great interview with our friends, the Lilienthals. So let's get into it. All right, so welcome to the Pod Shed. I've got my friends Andy and Mercedes Lilienthal here, and this is kind of a sort of a like the edge case, because I know everybody is always, truck, but I'm super fascinated because you guys took a Subaru across the Trans-America Trail from the East Coast all the way to the Pacific Ocean, to the West Coast, and over the Continental Divide. And I've done this trip before. And I've done the Porsche, I think it was from Oklahoma all the way to Moab.
Oh,
and,
cool.
Yeah, we did that with Rivian as part of a thing I did at Motor Trend. So I know the variety of this trail. All right, I remember that we have to do your intro because we're getting into some storytelling. So hold on, let me hit your intro real quick.
Pull up a stool and share. Pull up a stool and share a story. Pull up a stool and share. How about you pull up a stool and share with us?
So what vehicle? How many days? How many miles? Let's get through the stats.
Yeah, so we used a 2025 Subaru Crosstrek Wilderness. It took us 29 days to go from Nags Head, North Carolina to Port Orford, Oregon. And we averaged 25 miles an hour.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah. It's not the most efficient way across the country, but sure is an adventure.
So how many miles did you do?
So we did a total of 7,163 overall Trans-America Trail miles. But because I'm the navigator, I have to keep all different kinds of statistics, and 3,184 of that total 7,000 plus was dirt, gravel, and rocks.
Wow. All right. How many hotel stays were there?
We did six. That included
We got to take a shower at some point, right?
You do.
Yeah.
That included the last night, which was the night in Port Orford, Oregon, which was also our 21st wedding anniversary. We're like, yeah, no more tents. So,
well, and the other 5 we ended up having to do because of severe weather or wildfires. Sure. So it was either, sleep in a rooftop tent with 60-mile-an-hour plus wind, torrential rain, and nickel-sized hail, among other things, and have huge trees fall on us, or not. So
yeah,
we didn't want
I get that.
Catch on fire. So
a little background: you guys now own a business called Crankshaft Culture, and you guys do writing and PR. Mercedes writes for OVR, so you might know her name from that. Andy was a long-time marketing at Warren, so we'd worked together. And now you guys are basically doing marketing and kind of your own project. So how did this cross-country trip with Subaru come to be?
Well, so I was trying to think how I even heard of the Trans-America Trail, but I, at some point, had heard about it, and then had heard of people on 4 wheels doing it, not just 2 wheels. And so we've partnered with a bunch of manufacturers over the years, and because we just don't like to do anything the easy way, we thought, hey, I wonder if you could do this in a Subaru. Like, how hard is it? I'm seeing some photos of these Jeeps on 37s and up to their bumpers and mud holes. And
well, let's pause there for a second, Andy, just because I want to let people know, like, you have this passion for weird vehicles, like whether it's a Delica van that's 4-wheel drive or a Pajero that's a JDM that got brought over. Like a lot of these sort of like cool right-hand drive JDM, rare, some silly turbo diesel or something, you've owned a ton of them, a lot of different cool stuff over the years. So I want to set the stage that Andy's not like your typical, Subaru driver that you might imagine.
And neither is his wife.
But you like wacky adventures and doing kind of like things on the edge that most people would never do. So this is actually more of a natural collaboration than one might think on the offset. They may go, well, I don't get it, why? But knowing that you like to kind of push the limits and see just how far you can take something and do something unexpected with it. That's sort of been your MO for a long time.
Yeah, that's right. Like 2 days before we left, we also bought a 98 JDM Suzuki Jimny. But
so cool.
which I'm sure is going to work its way into OVR at some point.
I hope so.
So yeah, we're not the kind of what you would call stereotypical Subaru owners. We rally them. We do off-road cool things with them, and this was a challenge. I was like, so we pitched Subaru of America and just said, hey, would you be interested in it? And they didn't take very much time to say yes. And I have driven we had both driven the Crosstrek Wilderness on the media launch. And we're both experienced off-roaders. And even at the media launch, I was like, okay, this thing is more capable than I thought it would be. They actually put us on obstacles that I was surprised they would.
Yeah.
And so we knew that the Crosstrek Wilderness was, kind of punched above its weight in terms of off-road capability. But this is the first time I had ever really spent any time behind an all-wheel drive car off-road.
Well, and I have more experience as a driver off-road with all-wheel drive vehicles, a couple of different vehicles, whether they're an EV or a gasoline vehicle for the Rebel Rally, for instance. But we switched roles. Whenever we partner together, Andy drives and I'm the navigator. So when we thought about what vehicle manufacturer to pitch, we pitched Subaru because we thought, we're owners, right? We've had several Subarus, and the two of us, we have a 22 Crosstrek that's built up outside. That's not a wilderness, but we have a longstanding relationship with them. So way back in the day, we would cover Oregon Trail Rally, and they even had us up in a helicopter one time to shoot and cover Travis Pastrana and David Higgins, which was awesome when they were rallying, all the way through that. And then we did the 2022 Summer Alcan 5000 Rally with them. So we've had several years of partnership, and we thought, what can be extreme, challenging, and use an unconventional car in a car, essentially, all-wheel drive.
Makes for a great story.
Right. It does, because, and if we could do it, and if we're successful, because most of all, if there's any vehicles, it's primarily four-wheel drives that do it. Yeah.
And just so people, if you're not familiar, the Crosstrek is kind of like the little, like CRV sized or RAV4 sized, like SUV wagon. But the XUV has gotten incredibly popular because it had a little bit of a lift to it and all-wheel drive, and so really popular in like Colorado and high elevations where there's snow and you need some more ground clearance. Boxer 4, and then CVT, I think, right? And
yes.
So it kind of has become the all-weather family car for, either small families or people who are, out of college or what. I know actually several of my friends who have bought their kids going to college over in the East or in, Colorado, a XUV. So Wilderness came out, and Wilderness is sort of like a little bit of an overlay off-road package, maybe in the line of the original Outback, and now you can get an Outback Wilderness, and maybe even a little bit further along than, Honda with the Trail Sport moniker. They're trying to jump into kind of that Japanese CUV unibody market that has some off-roading potential. Obviously, Toyota's playing a little bit there with RAV4, but Subaru's really the original out of that size class and company to be there for the off-road enthusiasts. And we'll see them on the trail all the time out in the desert. Like, you'll see the normal Jeeps and pickup trucks, but every once in a while, there's that one lone wolf in the Subaru all-wheel drive with some, spacer lift and some knobby BFGs on it or something like that, and they're out doing it with everybody else. So that's sort of the genesis of where Wilderness came from, because Subaru saw an opportunity because they went, whoa, we made this XUV, and everybody keeps modifying it. I'm sure you guys have seen it. Roof rack, spacer kit, 30-inch tires or 31s, whatever they can fit on there. Rally flares or rally mud flaps, things like that, and all loaded down. So that's where the Wilderness came from. And that is that new for, I think, 24 or 25, right?
Yeah, it was. It was, I believe, 24. Yeah, it was
24.
Was the first year. And yeah, you hit it on the nose. I mean, that's exactly what it was. And I mean, we even did get we went over Cinnamon Pass and on the San Juans, and we were just taking a photo, and this guy came up to us and he's like, "How'd you get this thing up here?" and we're like, I mean, we have Rally Armor skid plates on it, which were a crucial
primitive.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Too many different.
Thinking mud flaps. We have the primitive racing skid plates, and we definitely put them to the test. But I told the guy, I said, you got to pick your line and go a little slower than if you were in a Jeep or a Bronco or something like that.
And I don't mind hopping out and spotting too. I mean, there were several instances where I did hop out, even though, we had the primitive skid plates and it's got, a great approach and departure and breakover angles. We still had some pretty big rocky ledges and some boulders and things like that, whether it's in Arkansas on War Loop Road, which we were warned about. And we've got plenty of video on that via our via Crankshaft Culture on Instagram and Facebook, but to the San Juans and also even to Moab. I mean, we successfully did Gemini Bridges, which is really cool.
That's awesome. And to talk about just some of the, like, especially in the San Juans, that's not a place where you see all-wheel drive crossovers. They just
No.
you just don't. And if you do, it's usually on the San Juan Sheriff Department post showing this person should not have been on this trail, right? So I mean, it's actually a pretty big deal. It's a big accomplishment. So you mentioned the primitive skids. What other modifications were done to it, if anything, for the trip?
Yeah, so you spoke about BFGs. That's our favorite tire brand. We worked with BFG, had a set of KO2s on there, a little bit larger, little baby size larger. So we went from a 60 series to a 65 series, but it gave us just a little under an inch of extra clearance. We had a Rally Innovations light bar and then 2 Baja Designs XLR Pro lights on there.
Great light.
Which were, yeah, absolutely. The Primitive Racing skid plates. We had an ARB awning for shade. We also had one of their portable 12-volt air compressors and a Speedy Seal tire kit.
And their fridge, which saved our bacon more times.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You got to have a fridge on these trips. You just have to.
Oh, my God.
And it was on for 29 straight days.
Yeah.
We had a rigged supply Ultra Swing short fit hitch, which carried us, of course, carried our spare tire. We also had the side hack so we could have 5 gallons of fuel. We put some Max Trax Extremes on there just in case. We could have went with their light boards, but opted for the Extremes. Had a Trasharoo on there to keep our trash and laundry there. We carried an EcoFlow Delta 3 Plus power
I have
station.
a Delta. I think it's a River Pro 2.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I use that, and they make a great product.
And
Yes.
I'll tell you what, we had their 800-watt alternator charger on there, and that was a game changer
Yeah.
because it
That
allows
was
you to
awesome.
charge the thing while
Basically,
you drive.
you have it plugged into the inverter while you're driving to charge it, and then when you get to camp or whatever, you unplug it. It's fully charged, and even with the fridge, it'll last you all through the night, so you don't have to have an onboard secondary electrical system installed.
Yeah, and the best part about that alternator charger is they have an app, and you can flip it, and it'll actually send power back to your car's battery.
Oh,
so
great.
That your stuff doesn't get.
Totally run down.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, basically, we never unplugged it. We only unplugged the EcoFlow when we wanted to take it out into our camp area.
Sure.
But otherwise, the setup just basically stayed. So it charged during the day, like I said, and we plugged in things that we needed to, like camera batteries or laptops or whatnot. But then, yeah, like Andy said, we just reverse charged it via the app at night, and then it just sent power back to the car's battery, and we never had any issues. It was great.
Yeah, it worked really, really well. And we had a Factor 55 Hitch Link 2.0 in the receiver just in case we need to get pulled out, and thankfully we didn't.
I've got a limited production bronze one for the new 392. I've got a
Yes.
Oh, cool.
bronze Ultra Hook and a bronze Hitch Link 2.0. That'll be going on the new Jeep. So
So
Nice.
that's awesome.
Yeah. And
Our
we
friend-
had a couple other little things. Just we had a Typhoon bag from Front Runner, some Quad Lock.
I love Quad Lock. I use Quad Lock on all my personal stuff.
Quad
Yeah,
Lock
we just
phone
started
mounts.
getting into it.
Yeah,
so.
we really like it. We had a Pelican case to carry some of our stuff like the Starlink. And then
Yep.
we used Garmin Tread Overland for our GPX maps.
Yeah, and then we also used Onyx too, just to double check trail
Yep.
conditions and get crowdsourced information and all that with Onyx, which is great.
Love Onyx. They used to sponsor the podcast. I still use that for all of my mapping and routing. And then I've got the Pelican. I think it's the smaller R20, whatever their little ruck is. That's my humidor when I go off-roading because it's ruggedized. It's waterproof, and it'll keep those Boveda packs hydrating my cigars in there. So that's what I carry all my cigars in. So
Awesome.
good choice of gear, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
well,
use
I mean-
ours to carry my voltmeter.
I was just going to say we have one too, and that was where the voltmeter lived. But I mean, for us, we've learned, I think, over the years, especially doing so much. I mean, we've got tens of thousands of miles, off-road miles in between the two of us, plus rally miles.
Yeah.
That buy once, cry once, right? And buy the best you can afford, and then you're not going to have issues with dust. You're not going to have issues with moisture or things tearing at the worst opportunity, which has all happened to us. So it's kind of like, all right, you just got to buy the best you can.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's hard sometimes to stomach the prices of things that are in our ecosystem, if you will. And unfortunately, sometimes I have to wait to get the next thing. But I've always realized when it's gear that you depend on, and sometimes if your life depends on it, not just the success of a trip, but sometimes it's something life-saving, spend the money. Like it won't let you down when you need it, and that's always been my philosophy. And those are all the brands you mentioned are all great brands that I would recommend to anybody. You guys obviously have been doing this a long time, so Now, when we're talking about the Transamerica Trail, it goes across the U.S. almost entirely on dirt. There's a few places where you have to hop off. In Oklahoma, there was places in farmers' fields we had to navigate around. That was fun. Then you're dodging sometimes tornadoes and thunderstorms and Mother Nature. And then when you start on the East Coast and it's sandy and beachy, and then you get into kind of the Southeast and it's deep, sticky, gooey mud with like shale and rocks and trees and forests. And then you kind of make your way in the Midwest, and all of a sudden it opens up and it's all, agricultural fields. And you have to think about it this way too. East of the Mississippi, there's not a whole lot of wheeling unless it's on private property. West of the Mississippi is where all of our BLM and BLM land and openness is. And part of the thing is, once you cross the river and you get out into the western half of it, it's just like the world opens up. And it's pretty hard on the East Coast to navigate the little right-of-ways. And there's places where you have to cut across somebody's property, but they allow it because they know the Trans-American Trail is there. And as long as you close the gate behind you or get the whatever permission, it's no problem. But it's amazing. Then you get up into, the Continental Divide. It's forest, 2 tracks and dirt roads and fire roads. And then you get into Moab, and it's all the Moab, like, Red Rock, and then getting in through the desert, and then up through Oregon, which people don't realize. You guys know because you live there, but Oregon is a massively diverse state. It's not just Portland with like rainy and trees. There's like a desert out there, forests out there, mountains out there. Oregon is incredibly diverse, beautiful, and also challenging.
It's funny you mentioned that, because on day 29, we had all this planned out. We were going to, we're breaking camp. We're going to roll into Port Orford, and we're going to go to the Crazy Norwegian for fish and chips and a beer.
Everybody said to go there. So.
And it's going to be great. And the last day was probably one of the top 3 most challenging days. We had sort of been warned about some of the groups on Facebook. There was a guy on a motorcycle who had helmet cam footage of him going across basically a 1 foot, 18-inch wide section because there was a sinkhole. Oh. And we were like, oh, okay. Well, here we are. We're like 7,050 miles in. And we're like, must not have to hit that sinkhole. And then wouldn't you know it, we go up this road, and there's like a burned up bus at the end of it. It should have been an Omen. And we go up this road, and the center grass is real tall. Like, people haven't been down it a long time. I'm like, I don't know. We come around the corner, and there's a sinkhole.
And I believe it's NF3353. Don't quote me on it, but I think it's pretty much burned into my memory because there was a kind of a real low, I don't know, probably 10-foot section that was maybe 2-foot drop off or so that was undulating, that you had to go down and then back up. And then there was another kind of washout. And then I just started getting the heebie-jeebies. And Andy and I are like, whenever we travel, whether it's road rallies or internationally for something or off-road, or it's just safety. Whenever one of us has an issue or just, gets a hair, like kind of standing the back up, in your neck, and you're like, no, this is not feeling good. Well, I had one of those aha moments, and I'm like, Andy, and I looked because we had paper maps, we had turn-by-turn directions, and then we also had GPX tracks that we stitched together via our Garmin. We had all of that, and I was looking because I was getting nervous and more nervous, and I was like, crap. I'm like, Andy, you're going to hate me, but I really don't feel good about this. I think that this is probably the road where that huge sinkhole was. We already came across the one, but that wasn't the one that the moto guy was trying to get on.
I was going to ask you if it was the same one. Okay.
No, it was a different one.
But and I'm like, oh, hey, I think we can get around this. And I'm like, this is why women live longer than men.
Well, so long story short, we're like, and I told him, I said, guaranteed. I said, I am just not feeling good about this. And I said, I'm so sorry. We're going to have to backtrack all the way down, which I think took another hour or two to go back to where we were and find a workaround that went all the way around. And it took a really long time. And I'm pretty sure that whole area was less than 50 miles to the damn finish.
Yeah, we kept running into issues where like, hey, we can go this way. And then there'd be like something that we couldn't get around. Yeah. And so Mercedes did such a great job navigating us around some of these deviations.
Well, we had 39 of them in total. 39 over the 7,300 and 163 miles.
Did you report them on Onyx so they could fix it?
No, we just had so much we had go, as you know, as a journalist, and photographer and this and that, and I'm trying to write down tons of statistical data.
Your notes, all
the notes of like how much gravel we did, how many hours we spent, over 317 hours, and I think 5 minutes, actually driving, because darn it, those 5 minutes matter. driving for 29 days. And, we had 23 days of 29 camped. And Andy, you could talk about some of the other statistics that we garnered, like the temperatures. Oh my gosh, we should talk about the weather.
We could not, even though we were going like against the way the weather goes across the US, we had 28 of 29 days were above 90 degrees. And of those, 6 of which were 100 degrees or hotter. It was 111 in Moab. We caved. We camped one night in Moab. Yeah. And then it was 111, and I'm like, no, I don't care. We're getting a hotel. So
you got nothing to prove to anybody. You guys have done it all before, right? I mean,
I am too old for this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the other thing is the first, as you know, the East Coast gets really hot and sticky.
Yeah.
And so not only was it in the 90s, but it was severely humid. It was right when that extreme weather warning was going out with the extreme humidity and also the heat. So we have a little Kestrel. I don't know if you're familiar with what Kestrel little weather stations are, and we kept on checking it, and it was religiously in the middle to upper 70s for dew point. It was almost 80 for dew point. I mean, think of that. We're tent camping.
Yeah. Last time I was in Moab, we did a trip, and it was myself with the AEV crew. And we camped on this great overlook, and we literally had a thunderstorm form vertically above our campsite.
Oh, God.
And it was 90 degrees at like 8 o'clock at night, throwing hail and wind. And it was the craziest mix of weather. And it was right above us. The cell, like I looked on the radar, it formed right above us, big red one, and kind of grew out rather than moving on. And it was like insane. I'm like, how do I have ice cubes hitting me when it feels like I'm being hit with a hairdryer?
Oh, God.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it's wild. We did have one night in Colorado, though. I mean, we literally brought a little bit of everything clothes-wise. Yeah. But we had one night outside of Sargent, Colorado, where we were freaking freezing. Yeah. And we woke up and the tent was covered in ice. Yeah. So we had everything from 111 to 32.
Well, and that day alone by Sargent's was, I want to say, were we close to a 70-degree swing within that same day, I believe.
We went to Moab. So, it was almost 70 degrees temperature swing.
I mean, think of this. I mean, your vehicles go through a heck of a lot when you do something like this. Think about your body and think about, your mental state.
Well, you're sitting in a capsule, right? That's climate controlled. And it's taking the humidity out of it. AC naturally is a dehumidifier. So I'm sure there are times you're like, do I want to feel like I have moisture back in my skin, or do I want to be hot, or cold? It's...
Yeah, and we have glasses, so they would like...
you get out and they fog up?
Like Tennessee, your glasses would fog up. It's just incredible.
It was so bad one night in Tennessee that when we were camping, and it was at night, and we had several nights of fireflies, which is really cool. But we're walking up, it was a state park, a nice state park, but the facilities were just disgusting and gross and not well kept. Walking back up, I could see my breath, and it wasn't raining, but I could just see my breath because it was so hot and steamy. And I mean, cooling cloths saved the day. I mean, we slept with them. We slept with hardly anything on. We slept on top of our sleeping bags. I mean, it stuck to everything. It was quite crazy.
Oh, those are the worst kinds of nights where you just can't get comfortable. That always sucks. At that point, you're like, let's just drive through the night so we have AC and we can make another day.
Seriously, I can tell you that the Crosstrex air conditioning works fantastically.
Well, that's a good endorsement. Speaking of the Crosstrek, I'm kind of curious. Being a CVT, an all-wheel drive, so obviously no low range, but Subaru has what they call their asymmetrical, or is it symmetrical? I guess symmetrical all-wheel drive, so it can split torque 50-50 between front and rear. And I don't know if the Crosstrek has it. Some of theirs, they can split at the differential from side to side as well. So it's one of the more advanced all-wheel drive systems, which is why they're so good at off-roading. I'm really curious, especially crawling up over ledges and coming down off things. What was the throttle input like? What was the responsiveness like? And did you feel like the CVT was a drawback, or do you think there were places that helped you because it could, stretch the gear ratio on either side so far?
Yeah, great question. So the Crosstrek has X mode, which is their, they have 3 different drive modes with X mode: normal, then they have dirt and snow, and mud and deep snow. And I started playing around with it and found out that the dirt and snow setting would deaden the throttle response, reduce the throttle response, so you could, have more input without,
being jerky.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The other thing, and a friend of ours who works at Subaru, Todd, he had said, when you get into some more difficult stuff, keep your foot into it. Don't floor it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep your foot in it because the all-wheel drive system will figure out where the power needs to give.
So I'm assuming it had some sort of like brake traction control, but you needed wheel slip for it to figure out what it needed to do. So you kind of had to drive through that obstacle real lightly.
Yes. Yeah. So the first time we ran into any sort of technical trails, we were in, I believe, Tennessee in the Appalachian Mountains. And this one road was just complete. It was very, very steep and very washed out.
Was that Maple Sally?
I don't know if it was Maple Sally Road or not, but it was, okay, we're going to do this. And sure enough, you can feel the car just trying to figure it out. And it oftentimes did. So the CVT was an interesting one. I'm not, for the record, I'm not a CVT fan generally.
Yeah, same.
I'm a kind of a diehard manual transmission person.
Also same.
But yeah, but with X mode and then in this dirt and snow mode, it really would figure it out most of the time. On most ledges, it was fine. Occasionally, you'd have to give it a little bump. We only ran into one instance in which we were unable to...
Stymied by the technology?
Yeah, it was. We were at about 12,000. Yeah, we were about 12,500 feet up. And we were trying to go over California Pass.
Mm-hmm.
And the switchbacks, the first set of switchbacks were covered by about 3 feet of snow.
Well, the bypass was covered.
And there was a steep approach to get up to the first.
I know exactly where that is.
Yeah, and we gave her all she had, Captain, and it just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
It just didn't have the. We ran out of oxygen. The CVT just was like no. So we turned around and went around a different way. But that was the only instance, and we kept doing these things that I couldn't believe that this car was actually capable of doing some of this stuff.
Well, I want to do like the East Mojave Heritage Trail in like a Bronco Sport or a Maverick FX4 or something like that. Like I love this kind of like, let's just see what we can do. I think something like that would be really cool. And I think I remember you posting along your trip, and the only, negative, but really you're a journalist, you're kind of reporting on those things, was the altitude was the one thing that got you guys. Like once you got up there and you're really working the car, it seemed like that was really the only place where it didn't live up to or beyond the expectations that you sort of had set forth when you took off.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think as far as the elevation, before we did California Gulch and California Pass, we did Cinnamon. Actually, we did Cinnamon both ways. We went, and we've never done Cinnamon before.
That's cool. Yeah, Cinnamon's awesome.
And we did the 4x4 section too. And we're like, well, okay, let's try it. We're fully skidded with the primitive skid plates. If it does not work, we're fully prepared. We got the Starlink, we've this and this. We're fully prepared, right? So if not, we can try to turn around, and there's no harm in saying I can't do it or the vehicle can't do it, right? Yeah. But we did that. We did it all the way back, and we did Ophir too. So for us to be able to get up to 11,000 and 789 feet, I think is what Ophir is, and Cinnamon I believe is 12,460
something,
or something like that. So it did higher elevation than it did with California Pass, but it was just an abrupt 90 degree that was really steep, like probably 20 degrees that it just
I will say it's a little wheezy.
Yeah.
But
non-turbo.
Non-turbo. Yeah, we kept thinking like if we had the Outback Wilderness, which has the turbo and whatever it is,
you probably would have been able to do it because you would have compensated for that low density of air up at altitude.
Yeah, you force fed and but again, like how many people are doing this?
No one.
And by the way, no one.
No one. Yep. Right.
P.S. We were
hell of a development trip.
Yeah, no kidding. We were loaded down. I mean, we weren't over the GVWR.
We weighed everything.
Yeah, we weighed everything, and the Crosstrek Wilderness has a crazy high GVWR for what it is. The curb weight is like 3360 or 3630. I can't remember what it is, but the GVWR is it's almost 4,800 pounds. So you can bring something like 1,100 pounds of stuff.
Which, by the way, for example, is the payload on most mid-sized pickup trucks. Right. With the off-road package, they're right around 900 to about 1,400 pounds.
Yeah, one thing I didn't mention was a last-minute change. We were going to run the stock suspension. Last-minute change, we switched to Bilstein B6s.
Yeah, the TerraSports?
Not the TerraSports. These were just the B6, the OEM.
The direct replacement one. Yeah, okay.
And then we added a set of King springs in the rear as sort of like an overload spring.
Yeah.
And that was a wise decision.
Yeah.
There was actually one spring that was taller, and if we were going to do this again, we would have gone with that. But it was incredible how durable the little car was. We would hit gotchas and be like, oh, that had to have broken something. And it was.
And we'd get out and check, and it
well, it's got to be
no issue.
that the rally, influence on engineering, right? And I'm sure the engineers probably got wind of this and went, oh, awesome. The company probably wouldn't let us do this stuff outside the proving grounds. And, we can't wait to see how it is in the real world. And you guys know how it is. And I'm sure on this trip, come around a corner a little bit too fast, there's a G out or a gotcha, and you better make a decision really quick. And sometimes it's not braking. Sometimes it's hammer through and hope the suspension survives. And sometimes it's getting it sideways, to drag it to a stop. But over 3,000 plus miles, I can't imagine the times you had where it was smooth going until it wasn't.
Well, right. I mean, we weren't really sliding sideways.
They're too heavy for sliding sideways.
Right. But I mean, there definitely were instances where it was like, all of a sudden you're almost blind because the sun, even with wearing sunglasses, and it's 100 degrees out and you're like, all of a sudden, there's something that got you, or just something was a lot looser than you thought or whatnot. And you had to mitigate those situations very quickly and carefully.
Mud in Oklahoma.
Oh God, the mud in Oklahoma. Thankfully, we were able to bypass and dodge a lot of the storms that were happening.
We got stuck in the mud in Oklahoma, outside of, I think, Oklahoma City. We were in ag fields, and I mean, there was just.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we were sometimes up to above the hubs in mud, in the stickiest. Just like, I mean, it was. We got to the point where we started like peeling off shoes and pants and stuff to go deal with the recovery boards because nobody wanted to get. When are we going to go wash our clothes, right? So.
Oh yeah,
right.
I will have to say, like. The BFGs, we didn't have a single flat tire. We had them wrapped on the Rika wheels. We went with a 17x8 with a little bit more offset, so we had a little bit more stance, but not a single flat tire. And I can say that now because I don't have to worry about it. But just unbelievable.
Great tires.
Impressive.
Yeah. I mean, we run them personally. I've run them before on rallies and stuff like that. And I mean, there's quite a bit of gravel rash on them, but any off-road tire would have gravel rash on them.
And the new KO3s, the new KO3s has a different compound where all that gravel chunking and stuff is a non-issue on the new tire. In fact, I've got KO2s that I'm putting on the 392 because the 37 KO3s won't be out until spring, I think. So. But it's been a great tire for me for a long time, and I love that tire. I trust that tire, and I've been everywhere I've wanted to go on that tire. And
our Mitsubishi Delica van has got KO2s, and then also our Crosstrek that we rally with and do a lot of dirt and gravel also has them. And we've got the KM3 mud terrains on our Pajero.
And amazingly, this little Suzuki Jimny we bought came with brand new 29-inch KO2. So
nice.
That's awesome.
That's so cool. Yeah, I saw a picture of that. I was jealous because I think everybody here, for those of you who don't know, I can't imagine people listening don't know, but a Jimny is basically what they call the Suzuki Sidekick overseas, and that has evolved, and it just was Suzuki stopped selling cars here. And I know yours is a couple generations old, but the current generation Jimny is like the cutest little Jeeplet looking thing. And we know there's a couple companies that brought them over gray market for their displays. And every time I see one, it's awesome. But when you posted yours, it's like, yeah,
I always
so cool.
wanted one. When the Samurai stopped getting sold, and then this was the evolution of the Samurai. Yep. And it's solid axle, coil sprung.
We've always wanted one.
Okay, we've always wanted one. Sorry.
Come on.
I made a pact with myself that in 2023 I would import the third generation.
Yeah.
And it was a little longer, but we drove the new Jimny in Iceland too, and I was just like, did not want to give it back.
I know. Can I take this home,
so
please?
Good.
All right,
the fact that it's a manual too, and everything that we drive, and everything that I've ever owned, and you primarily have ever owned, have been stick shifts. And as you know, it's far and few in between.
My 392 was the first new vehicle I ever bought that wasn't a manual transmission. And,
wow!
And only because it didn't have it. And so, of course, the new one, the second 392 that got built 2 weeks ago and arrived at AEV last Friday, is the same. So everybody's like, "What'd you get? What'd you get?" I'm like, red 392. Just I like what I like. So
awesome.
So I'll be back. I'll be back in business there soon. All right. What were your biggest surprise, either with the vehicle or the trip, that you came across and you weren't expecting? Like, was there something really good about the interface of the car that you're like, wow, they really nailed this? Or was there something where you heard about a particular region and you got there and it was different than maybe what you had expected?
I think I think for me as the driver, I truly I was really surprised at how capable this thing was and durable. Again, like I thought there were times where I would turn to Mercedes like, I can't believe this thing could do this. Like
Yeah.
it just figures it out. In terms of places, I had never spent a whole lot of time in Virginia, and I found Virginia was just beautiful, and the hills and the rural areas were just amazing.
Yeah, and as far as I'm concerned, the Crosstrek Wilderness is very comfortable. The vehicle held all of our gear, and we need to preface this that this isn't our vehicle. This is Subaru of America's, and we briefly met it when we did the reveal at Wicked Big Meet. And we saw it, and then that's when we saw, okay, we might want to fix the rear suspension, or not fix it, but just upgrade.
Yeah, upgrade for your weight and stuff. Yeah.
FYI, Wicked Big Meet is a big Subaru event in Connecticut.
Right. It's a Subi Fest event. So that was where it was publicly revealed, and then we hosted our class and whatnot. But that was our only time really with it until we actually took receipt of it. And so we had to plan all of our gear, figure out what we would fly with, how much it weighed, where some of these things would go, because we're not building this. So we didn't know where the EcoFlow system was going to go. Yeah. We didn't know where in the back, and we tried to coordinate as best as we could. So for me, that car, fully weighted down, is still very comfortable. And, again, I was a navigator, I wasn't driving, but it felt very natural. It felt very, it rolled with you. It didn't feel like it was fighting you. It didn't feel like it was heavy. At least I didn't feel like it was heavy.
No, here's the thing too. It's a really good chassis on road.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, it's, for all intents and purposes, it's the Impreza, which is, WRX is based off of.
Yep.
So on road, there was one day where we were trying to get into town before this huge thunderstorm. We decided to scrap camping and go into Clarksville, Arkansas. And we were going south from Ozone, Arkansas, and these crazy curvy roads. And even on the KO2s, it was like a little rally car. It was a lot of fun. So where did you like in terms of places that were surprising?
I liked a lot of different places. I guess for me, I was very anticipatory of Arkansas and War Loop Road, because, there's a couple of forum groups on Facebook with mainly moto guys, but they all said, War Loop, you could totally just, ditch it and this and that and impassable, blah, blah, blah. So I was interested to see how the vehicle did with that and what the region looked like. And, and where the deciduous trees would actually end and flatland would start, and where pine trees, of course, as we know, once we start going into Colorado and Utah, you get it. But
first you get the cottonwoods and the birches down by the rivers, and I love that. Then you get up to the pine trees. It's so awesome.
Right. And I guess another surprise for me, and just wow, which were many, parts of Utah got really high up in elevation. Yeah. Like Geyser Pass, for instance, was above 10,000 feet. Sure. We did so many passes, I can't even tell you how many. Yeah. I did not record how many passes we did.
San Rafael Swell was another one.
One of my favorite places on earth is San Rafael Swell. You could explore there for a week and not see it all, and it is stunning.
Yeah,
we just rolled through. I was trying to get Andy to stop and camp, because it was maybe mid to late afternoon, and I'm like, let's just stop, let's just stay. He's like, no, I really want to keep going. I want to get into a little town or something.
Make some miles.
Make some miles. But it was also I think it was 105 or something.
Yeah, there was nobody there because it was like 100
It's so hot. Yeah.
Oh, it's so cool. We have to go back, because we've never been, neither of us have been in that area, and just loved
I remember the first time I drove to Moab for Easter Jeep Safari on I-70, and you come out of the mountains, and there's a place on the highway that there's basically two hills, and they notch you go through this hill, and it's like framing a picture, and all of a sudden you pop out and the San Rafael Swell is in front of you, and if you catch it at the right time of the day, it looks like an absolute painting, and you're like, how could anything be alive down there? It's red and brown and white, and then you see spots of green because of rivers, and myself and Shane Cassad from Bilstein, we had a chance to go out and on our way to Moab a couple of years, we did a little San Rafael exploring. I've done a little on my own. That's the one place I would love to keep going back, because it's immense, and it is so pretty. You're isolated, and some of the camping areas out there are just spectacular. Ledges, overhangs, valleys below. I mean, just amazing.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, there wasn't a shortage of dispersed camping opportunities. It was for us. I mean, once you got into Colorado,
Sure.
mind you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we know that everything is pretty much privatized on the eastern side. So we
Yeah.
had to do a
Or
lot
state parks.
or state parks, right?
Yeah.
So we just weren't able to do anything because there isn't really any opportunity. So we did a lot of like, parks, state parks,
Yeah, we did
kind of
that
thing.
in KOAs and things like that along the way because there's enough of those. And the nice thing about the Transamerica Trail is it's never so far outside of civilization. I mean, you could go drive 10 or 15 minutes and pop into a local town or something if you need to, and you kind of weave your way through there. Having not done this before and only having heard about it, what would you rank the Transamerica Trail on your list of trails you've done, places you've gone?
Well, we were talking about this. I would say it was like top three big trips we've ever done. Like just the immensity, the geological diversity, the diversity of the people. Like,
Sure.
I'm not going to lie. Like when we took that first corner up a mountain road somewhere in Appalachia, I thought to myself, I mean, I don't know what I'm going to find up here. Like, are there going to be a bunch of people? Is there going to be nobody? Are we going to run into, trouble, anything like that? And 99% of the time, if you ran into anybody, and we hardly ran into anybody, but if you'd run into people, they'd wave, say, hey, and you'd keep going or whatnot. So it was incredible. I mean, I really encourage anybody who's considering it to do it because we've traveled all over the world and to be in your own country and see it from a completely different perspective, all the back roads, all the mountain roads, all the
flyover
areas,
states,
all the flyover states,
right.
you realize that, man, I mean,
this is a great place. Yeah, it just makes you love the country even more, right? Like the diversity of food, people, culture, terrain, geology, history, and it's obviously there's a lot of older history on the East Coast, but as you go west, the history's newer unless you get into some of the native populations, and then there's petroglyphs and I mean just there's so much. It always cracks me up when somebody's like, I need to have an adventure, I need to go to Europe. And you're like, do you know how many adventures await just in your backyard if you look hard enough and have the spirit for it? And I feel like Transamerica Trail is one of those special things that we have that not a lot of people know about.
And I think that the biggest thing for me is, and I echo Andy's sentiment, is that I think that it's been, one of the top trips that we've done. The one thing that I do want to preface, though, is it took us 29 days to complete, but it probably took us a year to plan.
Sure.
That's a really important thing because the isolation that we had was so incredible that unless we went to get fuel or unless we went to, get the occasional grocery store stop, because a lot of the times we had a mountain house, right? So whether it was their new flavors that they had or breakfast or whatnot, we didn't see anybody. Yeah. Or it was some local.
I mean, you guys must really have to like each other. I sent my wife this meme the other day I saw, and it was a wife, and it said something like, if you don't like me, too bad, you're stuck with me. Go take a nap and come back or something like that. And it's like, most married people can understand that, right? And I mean, well, even if you're with your best friend for 29 days.
Oh yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's that you nailed it. That's the other part of it. So you not only are you very secluded, right? I jokingly say we're stuck in a steel box together for 29 days, and there may be things where there's high intense situations, right? Or there may be stressors, or you might get in an argument, but 90% of the time it's not at each other. It's because there's something that happened.
It's because the new car smell is gone.
Yeah, right. But like, oh darn it, I just got mud on the side mirror. Yeah, all joking aside, but it's figuring out the communication, and we're not the best at it. We're constantly learning, but trying to figure out how to mitigate those situations and try to come up with good solutions so that you literally don't kick one person in the curb. There is no curb, but like to the side of the hill, right, or the mud puddle, and you keep on going. So.
What was the final tally on the car itself, and what did Subaru say when they got it back? I mean, did you guys have any damage or dents? How are the fascias? I mean, what you guys know, and this will crack people up who don't understand this. when you're an automotive journalist, you have to sign a contract to take the car out for X amount of time. Usually the manufacturer covers insurance, you'll cover fuel, and you sign this thing. And it's like, don't smoke in the car, no pets in the car, don't drive to Mexico, like things like that. And a lot of times I used to laugh because at 4-Wheeler of the Year, we would send, a letter to all the manufacturers. Do not send running boards. They will be damaged and ripped off. Send something that has some miles on it because the paint is going to be scratched up. It's going to be dirty.
Right.
And the guy from the delivery service would come and they'd be like, we need to fill out an incident report on this. And you're going, you knew why you sent it. So I'm just curious, what was that like when the car finally went back to Subaru?
Yeah, so
they don't know yet.
Well,
okay, even better. We'll have to follow up podcast.
I think it's in transit.
Well, I will tell you, we didn't do any damage to the car itself that we're aware of. It totally drives fine. The front primitive racing skid plate, we did come down on some rocks, especially in Colorado.
It did its job.
A couple times. It absolutely. To be honest, and I'm not just saying this. We probably wouldn't have been able to do it without those. They were one of the biggest accoutrements, assets, word, that we had. But we got off of Cinnamon Pass and we're in Lake City. It's a long story about a missed road. We ended up. That's why we had to do Cinnamon Pass.
One of those arguments we were talking about earlier, right?
It wasn't an argument. It was just
a discussion. With your navigator.
Ended up filling up. We ended up actually giving our fuel from our jerry can to a guy in a super sweet V8 powered Willys, and because he was out of fuel.
Well, he had a fuel cell too.
So we went back into town. We're filling up. We're exhausted, and I noticed that when it was in when it was in park, it was making this kind of vibrating sound, and I'm like, oh boy. And then, you put it in a gear with your foot on the brake and it's vibrating. I'm going, oh boy, the CVT's, it's going to fall out.
Yeah.
I don't know, And so anyway, we ended up having to go, we needed to go to Silverton, Colorado.
Yeah.
We ended up going a way long way around, but it went through Montrose and we stopped at the Subaru dealers, Flower Subaru. And they got us right in. They were incredible. I thought they were going to take one look at this and be like, you got to be kidding. And they were the absolute opposite. They were amazing. Got us right in. Their service manager Bryce was a off-roader, and he took one look at the car. He looked at the underneath and he says, you got a really big dent in your front skid plate. And I said, well, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. And
I was exhausted. I didn't even think about looking at it. And so they put that up on the hoist. They took the skid plate off. About 400,000 dead locusts came out because of an agricultural road in Oklahoma. And then
we saw those too, by the way.
Yeah,
so.
I was going to say, that.
So it turns out the only actual damage to the car was the skid plate got dented and was touching the heat shield on the exhaust manifold.
Oh, so there's vibration.
It wasn't really damaged.
It was just a vibration.
That was just vibration.
And so, as far as we know, it's unscathed.
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, the only thing is we had a couple of wear points on the glove box just because my map board and navigation supplies, and then I think the bear bins that we had on the side did a little bit of rubbing on the side door. So sorry, Subaru, but I taped what I thought would be the wear points. But I mean, when you're doing over 7,100 miles and curving tight bad pavement roads and 3,184 of that is dirt, gravel, and crazy insane rocks. It's some rubbish is going to happen from the interior with gear.
Well, I mean, it sounds like it's it's not a commercial for Subaru, but it kind of is. I mean, it's. I think people are curious, like how durable. I see these guys out on the trail, or maybe that's my second or third car that another family member drives or something like that, and it's fun to see somebody really push it to the limit and see what's the limit. When you see every commercial these days is trying to be like a Jeep commercial, right? And everybody's driving on a desolate dirt road, blah blah blah, right? Whatever, but. Subaru really is the real deal. They've been doing it for a long time, and to see their modern cars, whereas a lot of manufacturers rest on their past laurels and in their reputation, Subaru is still bringing to the table a great car that can still go on these adventures, which you guys know. Obviously, I'm all about backcountry adventures. So when I saw you set out on this, I was following you on social. I'm like, this is so freaking cool. I hope they make it.
Yeah, we hope so too. No, I mean, I think that, Subaru makes a really great vehicle. We're owners. We've been owners. We had WRX two Foresters, two Foresters, and we've got our Crosstrek now that we rally. But not only are we owners, we're enthusiasts, and they really make a good product. And especially with the Crosstrek and the Crosstrek Wilderness, they're affordable price points. They're not $60,000 to get into something that you could adventure on. And for me, I'm very humbled and grateful for the opportunity. And we were hoping to finish. And I was hoping to finish unscathed and really prove the worth of this car and the parts along with it too, right? The equipment that we used, the planning that we did, the products, the upgrades, and we used 99% of everything that we had, and everything worked, which was exactly what we were trying to plan for. And that's a really hard thing when you think of a transcontinental type of a journey like this.
Just from a planning standpoint.
Oh yeah, from a logistics and planning. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you get there and you go, damn, I forgot my toothbrush. I got everything else, but I forgot my toothbrush.
Yeah, chainsaw maybe.
Yeah.
That's the one thing.
Axe, chainsaw.
We brought an axe. Literally, I think it was day 2, or maybe it was even day 1.
We thought of it.
They had huge storms in North Carolina and Virginia and whatnot, and we came to around this corner, and there was like an 80-foot tall tree down. And even if we had an electric chainsaw, we probably wouldn't have been able to get through it. So we really did plan smartly.
Well, and the biggest thing is we right from the get-go in North Carolina, some of the infrastructure that they had just built post Hurricane Helene literally were destroyed the second that we landed. And so we, like, from day 1, I think we had navigational issues, and every day I tracked how many deviations, what those deviations were, where we went. I couldn't grab the mileage. I only had so much brain power.
Yeah, no, I get it. It
was insane. Yeah.
Well, it's hard too when you're doing a trip like this where you have to document it.
Yes.
But you're still trying to enjoy it at the same time. And you're dead tired from sleeping or not sleeping the night before in 115 degree weather. And there's times where you're like, today's got to just be an effort day. I got to close my eyes for a little bit over here and we'll make some miles. But guys, really appreciate you coming back on. And this is what the audience is doing right now. They're clapping, they're hooting, they're hollering. There's a guy in the back here really quick. You'll hear him. There he is. So they're congratulating you guys on a job well done. Congrats on making it all the way across the Transamerica Trail and bringing the story over to the Truck Show podcast. So what's next for you guys now that you're going to be home for a little bit, or are you?
No. I've got a couple of media events coming up here in the next, actually like 4 days. But
we're leaving tomorrow for something fun.
Yeah, we're actually picking up we're going to run the 2025 Alcan 5000 rally.
Nice. And we've had you guys on before. We're talking about Alcan. What's the vehicle of choice this year?
We are running a 2026 Honda Passport Trail Sport. So
all right.
It is their off-road vehicle that they recently introduced, and I drove it in Puerto Rico on the launch. And
supposed to be pretty awesome.
We'll be excited to put some miles on it.
Yeah, we're flying down to Anaheim, and we're actually going to Rally Innovations, the light bar company that we've worked with a couple of times, including the Transamerica Trail. And we've worked with them and Baja Designs to actually design a prototype front light bar mount and light bar system for the 2026.
Because you'll need it.
Yeah, exactly. We'll need it up there. So we're going to be running the prototype. So see how that goes.
Love the guys at Baja Design, Adam and the crew. They're so awesome, and I got some Baja lights going on the new 392. So it's funny, like all the same company. I'm like, yep, I know them. Yep, love them. Great choice. So
that's great. We're excited about it.
It's the off-road space is such a small community, and everybody wants to help each other out, and everybody wants to help somebody do something cool, and that's one of the great things about it is, we get to dream up these ideas, and there's always somebody to support it because they love that type of storytelling and whatnot. But so excited to have you guys on. I guess you'll have to come back after the Alcan so we can hear how that went.
We'd love that.
Love it. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thanks for having us on the show.
A Lilienthal check-in coming up. So, all right. Well, safe travels up there. I will be following you guys. I'm sure you'll be posting social and things like that. So I will follow you. And then you guys also have social for Crankshaft Culture. Do you want to give that out real quick? So in case any of the listeners want to follow you.
You bet. Our website is crankshaftculture.com. We believe we're united by horsepower. And then you can follow us on Instagram at Crankshaft Culture, Facebook at Crankshaft Culture, YouTube at Crankshaft Culture, all of the places at Crankshaft Culture.
Instagram and Blue Sky.
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll look for you online, and hopefully we'll talk to you guys soon. Good luck on the next adventures.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Sean.
Thanks so much.
All right. From Subarus back to trucks. So I want to start doing a little mini series over the course of, who knows, maybe 5-6 episodes, something like that, on the $45,000 pickup truck. We'll focus on midsize 4x4s, and I'm lining up a few to drive, and we'll be comparing options and what you get for $45,000, how they compare to each other, especially in terms of power and capability, especially with towing and payload. But as I get into this, I want to know what options you guys expect for $45,000. Keyless entry, push button start, home link, low range, skid plates, integrated brake controllers, cameras, you name it. I'll put a poll on the Podshed Insider so you can weigh in on what features are most important, or you can send us an email at truckshowpodcast@gmail.com. I think it'll be a fun segment, right? I feel like 45 grand is sort of the sweet spot. Maybe we'll jump up and do full-size trucks next, but I'm always getting questions from you guys about what truck should I buy? And so I thought, well, maybe let's explore together. I think I'll also have some friends on who either own the trucks or have access to them through work. And we'll make it informative. And as we go along, if you guys have questions, especially about a specific truck, it's maybe something that you're looking at, give me a shout. So I even created a new jingle for it. So you'll hear this again.
45K, it's all I got to spend on a truck that's sitting on the lot. Chrome grill winks, but does it have guts? A truck ain't a truck if it's scared of ruts. Shiny paint don't make it rough. Which one's really tough enough? Is it the roar or the climb, the mud or the shine? Which one's gonna carry my load? Tough enough to break the road. 45K. Yeah, it's time to play. Which mid-sized truck's gonna make my day?
Yeah. Come on, you guys love that, right? I know you love our jingles here on the Truck Show podcast. So again, $45,000. What do you get for it? But what are also your expectations? Because what I've noticed as I've been doing research is what you start off with is sort of all over the map, and there's all these packages. Some companies are a la carte, some come the way they come. So what can you do for $45K? What do you guys expect? Let me know, and we'll get into that. So with that being said, I think it's time to head over to the inbox because we've got a couple emails.
You email? Yeah. I email? Do it. We email? That's right. Everybody email. Type it up. You email? Proofread. I email? Send it. We email? Click it. Everybody email.
All right, I got this email from Jason Gaynor. I'm not going to read it yet because I'm still researching the answer for that. But Jason, just so you know, I got it, and I will hopefully in the next episode have some info for you. Got this one from Dennis Durrell. Says, Holman, I know you follow Bring a Trailer, so this is probably already on your radar, but holy cow, that's a lot of money. The comments, though. So he sent me a link to the Godzilla-powered 1974 Ford F-250 crew cab 4x4, so that would be a dent side. And those trucks are really hard to find because they were only made for fleet. And somebody dropped a 7.3-liter Godzilla in one. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. It's a 74 250 4x4. They started building it in 21. Power is provided by a 7.3-liter Godzilla V8 crate engine linked to a 6R80 6-speed automatic. Dual-range twin-stick transfer case. The body was refinished in red with white stripes and battle-born suspension kit with extended leaf springs. Four-link setup was installed. The interior of the cab was retrimmed using a Fat Fender Garage interior kit with black vinyl and plaid cloth on the bench seats. It also has vintage air, custom auto sound stereo, Dakota digital gauges, 17-inch raceline wheels. Anyway, it's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Any guesses as to what it went for on Bring a Trailer, which, by the way, has had some insane stuff. If you were a JDM guy, yellow Acura Integra Type R just went for, I believe it was over $200,000. Crazy. So what did the 74 F-250 crew cab on 33s go for? $152,500. Dang. Although when you look at this build, it's absolutely gorgeous, and I wouldn't be surprised if it probably has close to $100,000 into it. It's really cool. So anyway, really appreciate you sharing that with us, Dennis. And moving on to the next one, we've got one here from Jonathan Albrecht. Says, over-the-air updates. In response to your mention of Chevy over-the-air updates, my new 2025 Wrangler decided to do an update 2 hours into my week-long backcountry Jeep trip with limited cell service. I'm always afraid of that, which is why I have Starlink. So if it ever does that, I'm not screwed out in the wilderness. He continues, it's said to put the vehicle in park, I have a manual, and not to drive, but after 5 minutes, pulled over, stuck at 68% with no change, and I decided to keep on driving. Unfortunately, when it stalled out at 68%, I think that was your Jeep telling you to
Try again.
After downloading and installing, it rebooted, and the screen went crazy, flickering and flashing and unable to pull up the radio or HVAC controls. Somehow we ended up on a non-channel on the radio. I was still able to turn it off, which I did. Several hours later, it fixed itself, but I was not and am not at all impressed. This was the Uconnect screen. What if something similar happened with the ECU? And it says software update is installing. Backup camera, radio, SOS, and several driving assistant features will be unavailable during the update, and it's stuck at 68%. It also says should remain in park, and he's got the manual as he stated. Hopefully that was an edge case, because I've got a similar vehicle coming my way. That sucks. So I will tell you with the JL, I've learned over the years that whenever you disconnect the battery, replace the battery, it's totally normal for all of the modules to take time to come back online, like sometimes 15, 20 minutes, sometimes several key cycles. Things like climate control will disappear and your rear backup camera and all these things, all these options. So what happens is that the ECU or whatever the computer is that's figuring it out is looking for all the modules and then turning them back on based, I guess, on your VIN and what it knows is installed on the vehicle. So that takes time. So hopefully that was just a normal JL rebooting and finding all the modules, which is why you didn't have stuff for a while. But as far as the over-the-air update, like I said, when I am out in the world, I bring my Starlink Mini, so hopefully that won't happen. But if it does, I'll let you know. Thanks, Jonathan. And then not quite a inbox thing, but in social, there's a comment from Sean's Garage when I had posted about the 392 reaching AEV. There's a photo on our socials. And Sean's Garage says, will you have time to do a fan meetup when you come to pick it up in Michigan? And to be honest, hadn't even thought about it. Is that something you guys are interested in? Do we have enough Michigan contingent who can meet somewhere? If you guys are interested, I'd be down to meet you guys for a beer somewhere. If there's a place that you all agree on, maybe throw something up in the Podshed Insiders and maybe we can figure it out, because I would love to see some of our out-of-state listeners who aren't California pompous like I am. So from the inbox, let's head on over to the Podshed Insiders.
Join the Podshed Insiders. Why not? We're having fun with all that's being said, hooting and hollering in the online shed. We're having fun, talking trucks, and other totally rad and random stuff. No matter where you are, hang out in Holman's backyard. Join the Podshed Insiders, why not?
All right, lots of discussion this week on the Podshed Insiders, and that's because there's some V8 news about the Wrangler and Jeep, but you guys have to wait till the Have You Heard episode coming up next for me to talk about it. There's some stuff I knew about, some reasons I went with the Jeep that I did and when I did, and haven't been able to talk about it, but the CEO of Jeep, well, he let the cat out of the bag about a couple things, but the internet doesn't quite have it right, so we will discuss more on our next news segment. And Kelly Nauman wrote a pretty interesting post. It says, Sean P. Holman, what are your thoughts on the 26 F-250 Crew Cab FX4 versus the Tremor 7.3? So this is the reason I'm doing the $45,000 midsize truck, but because of Kelly's question, I think maybe if that's popular, we'll head into full size. He says, have you heard any realistic fuel economy numbers for the gas Tremor? I'm about a month away from ordering my new one, so curious on your opinions, mostly going to be highway miles and backup farm trailer hauler when the F-350s are tied up. And so I said I would answer that here on the show. And I'm always going to say Tremor because I'm an off-road guy. But there are also some drawbacks to the Tremor. So FX4 package, which is available as an overlay on, I think, pretty much everything. Any of the F Super Duties that are 4x4, you get all-terrain tires. You get the traction tires on an F450, electronic locking rear diff on the single rear wheel, limited slip on the dual rear wheels. You get hill descent control, shocks specifically tuned to off-road. You get skid plates, transfer case, and fuel tank. And then you get the FX4 off-road box decal. That's $550. Moving up to the Tremor off-road package. Now, this is where things get a little wonky because it's only available on the F250 crew cab with a greater than 10K gross vehicle weight rating package, but it's way more expensive. There are some differences. I believe it does not have a rear sway bar, and the front sway bar might be a little bit undersized to allow the axles to articulate. Beyond that, it's available on XLT, Lariat, King Ranch, and Platinum as an overlay. Looks great, by the way. It's one of my favorite looking Super Duties. You can get it with the 7.3 gas V8 or the 6.7 Power Stroke V8 turbo diesel. Either engine comes with a 10-speed automatic. 430 electronic locking rear axle with the gas engine, 355s on the diesel. You get 35s, which is great. Great looking 18-inch ebony black machined and painted aluminum wheels. You get lane departure warning. Front springs are different with a ride height increase to level it out. You get, again, the locking rear diff, but you also get a front limited slip differential, which is way cool. Performance front and rear shock absorbers. I do believe they're a big twin tube, though. They're not monotube. Off-road running boards, skid plates for the transfer case and fuel tank. Different front air dam with approach angle improvements. You get water fording vent tubes on the diffs, transfer case, and axle. In rock crawl mode, trail control mode, and then a Tremor off-road decal. But keep in mind, not available with an 8-foot box, not available as a dually, not available, again, with the rear stabilizer bar. So you really have to look at your use case to see where it fits in for you. For me, I'm going to say go Tremor, especially if it's a daily that you're going to do some off-roading. But if it sounds like it's a farm truck, you're going to be probably money ahead by just overlaying the FX4 package, especially if you need something other than a short box crew cab. So that's what I got to say about that. All right, elsewhere in the pod shed this week, we've got some videos on what's wrong with California. And we've got Nathan Hendrickson talking about his wife's uncle who passed away, and her aunt was selling a 2002 Tacoma pre-runner, and they just wanted to find out if it would start. So it's been sitting for about a decade, and they added some good gas to it. And even though the sending unit was probably bad, he has 9-year-old little girl Camber in the driver's seat, little starting fluid in the airbox. He said, crank it. And the 2.7 fired right up and ran for a few seconds. So he posted a picture of her giving a big old smile by starting up the truck, which is awesome. All right, well, that'll do it for this episode of the Truck Show Podcast. Don't forget to follow us on social at Truck Show Podcast, at Sean P. Holman, or be part of the show. 5-star hotline 657-205-6105.
The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show. Oh, oh.
And I want your feedback and questions, truckshowpodcast@gmail.com, and especially around this new $45,000 truck. Tell me, what do you want to know? Is it something I've driven? Do you have questions? Let me help craft the content so it helps you guys out. And the Facebook group, obviously, the Podshed Insiders, great place to be. Don't forget to send me your events, and we got to thank our sponsors. If you love your vehicles like we do, no better place to get the best synthetics, oil change kits, car care products, all that stuff you can buy online, amsoil.com. AMSOIL First and Synthetics, one of our favorite companies. And can't forget the fantastic line of Kershaw knives. Get yours today at kershaw.kaiusa.com. That's KAIUSA.com. And use the promotional code 2TSP2025. And get yourself a knife. Go along with your truck. They've got everything. Nice high-end USA-made knives. They've got some import knives that are great EDC that work great, but you don't have to feel bad about using them. And of course, OVRmag.com. If you want a great subscription to a wonderful adventure magazine, OVRmag.com. Don't forget to use the code at Truck Show Podcast for a year free digital subscription or discount on a print subscription. Anyway, thanks for listening and looking forward to doing it again soon.
The Truck Show Podcast is a production of Truck Famous LLC. This podcast was created by Sean Holman and Jay Tillis, hosted by Sean Holman, and uses production elements by DJ Omar Khan and Jay Tillis. If you like what you've heard, please open your Apple Podcast or Spotify app and leave us a 5-star review. And if you're a fan, there's no better way to support the show than by sharing it and patronizing our sponsors. Some vehicles may have been harmed during the making of this podcast.
All right, you guys. Love you, mean it. Bye.